2014 has been a great year for games, as the new systems finally stepped up and gave us some games to get excited about. Although there's a lot of titles we haven't had a chance to play yet, we did want to take a moment to list the 10 best new games we experienced in 2014. Without further ado, here are the 10 best new games we played this year. Number 10, Mario Kart 8. The Wii U continues to struggle to find its footing, which made us grateful for the super fun title Mario Kart 8, which appeared this year. Just when we thought the Wii U was lost, this game appeared like an angry Luigi coming out of nowhere to whack you with a blue turtle shell. There is once again a huge variety of characters, and the levels look beautiful, thanks to Nintendo finally taking the HG plunge with the Wii U. The gameplay is addictive as always, and there are some terrifying gravity-bending levels that really twist the dynamics of the game. Thank you, Angry Luigi, for renewing our faith and interest in the Wii U for another year, and being part of the best new game on that system this year. Until we pick up Smash Brothers. Number 9, Walking Dead Season 2. We were skeptical about the sequel to Telltale's highly successful point-and-click adventure title. How could the adventures of Clementine, an 11-year-old girl, be as interesting without the presence of her protector and father figure Lee? We were pleasantly surprised. Without Lee, Clem has to be quicker and smarter than the adults, living and dead, she comes across. As a child, she survives by befriending, ingratiating, and manipulating her way through the world of grown-ups. Sadly, the series peaks midway through, and throughout the game, we felt our decisions only mildly affected the story, but we really enjoyed the story. When, in the midst of a zombie horde, young Clementine wordlessly frees her friend from a zombie by hacking off her friend's arm, we knew we were having fun. Number 8, Monument Valley. With all the glamour and prestige of the major releases this year, it was easy to overlook one of the more humble but most beautiful releases of the year. Monument Valley makes perfect use of its platform as you move your nameless protagonists through a series of Escher-style puzzles. The game looks amazing all the way through, and the puzzles are intricate but never frustrating. The game also gave us the adorable Totem, whose loyalty made him one of our favorite new characters this year. We admit, we still don't quite get what the story was all about, but with graphics this pretty and puzzles this fun, who cares? Number 7, Super Time Force. This unassuming time-bending budget title surprised us this year by providing one of the most beautifully chaotic experiences we've seen in a game. Playing like an 8-bit throwback to Contra or Metal Slug, you lead a team of mercenaries across time to make the world a little bit cooler. Each death means you reset the game clock 60 seconds and try the level again along with your recently deceased character. Repeat this around 20 times, as you will to get through each level, and you'll topple the biggest of bosses quickly with your army of clones. This is probably one of the best time travel titles we've ever played, and certainly one of the best budget titles we've found this year. Number 6, South Park: The Stick of Truth. We were amazed this year to play a funny, fun, well-designed South Park game. Seriously, after the crappy South Park games that preceded this title, and they were absolutely horrible, who could have expected that perhaps this year's best RPG would be a South Park game? Apparently, South Park creators Matt Stone and Trey Parker approached Fallout New Vegas developer Obsidian to make this game and were highly involved throughout, writing the script, insisting the game maintain the show's visual style, and even initially funding the game's development. Their dedication paid off though, as the game is fun to play and hilarious. South Park is the best example of why studios should keep games in development for as long as it takes. The payoff can be worth it. Number 5, Wolfenstein: The New Order. We would have bet a vast amount of money that the new Wolfenstein game would be terrible, and we would have been totally wrong. The nice people who brought us the criminally underrated Chronicles of Riddick game did the impossible. They made a great Wolfenstein game in the 21st century. With fun gameplay and a surprisingly interesting plot, we found ourselves interested in the events of the game as well as curious about what horrifying monstrosity the Nazis would throw at us next. We don't know if these programmers can help us with some of the other first-person shooter franchises that could use a reboot as well. We'd love to see what they do with Duke Nukem, Doom, Quake, Crysis, and Dark Forces. After this amazing title, we'd even trust them with Half-Life 3, and we don't know a higher compliment. Number 4, Alien Isolation. There was one more game that surprised us this year for being incredible despite all odds. Alien Isolation. Criminally underrated, Alien Isolation is probably the greatest game based on a movie since GoldenEye. The gameplay is like a first-person version of Dead Space, in which you are perpetually vulnerable to homicidal robots, rampaging humans, and the unstoppable xenomorph. Alien Isolation is the survival horror game we hoped to play with the evil within. As you move through the space station's vestibule, you are constantly in danger of being instantly killed by the alien and slowly killed by a slew of other things. You hide, you run, you occasionally whack somebody with a wrench, but if that alien catches you out in the open, you're screwed. Not everybody liked the difficulty of the game, but we loved it. Number 3. Destiny. Admittedly, Destiny was not the system seller we were hoping it would be. The story never really comes together, and the game itself quickly devolves into a grind, as players must repeat missions to simply level up. However, the gunplay is as good as Bungie's ever done, and the game reminds you of the Halo series without ever quite capturing the charm that the original series had. Partially due, in our opinion, to the surprising fact that Peter Dinklage's character is not nearly as interesting as Cortana, or even Guilty Spark. Regardless, it is still a great online cooperative shooter experience, and adored by its fans who showed insane dedication, beating ridiculously challenging DLC raids in a matter of hours post-release. And for those of us who wanted some Halo-style gameplay, this title was very impressive. Number 2. Dark Souls 2. We are gluttons for punishment when it comes to the Souls series. For some reason, we keep coming back for more. Maybe it's the fair but challenging combat, the absolute catharsis of finally defeating one of the many creatively grotesque bosses, or maybe it's just cognitive dissonance. We put up with it, so we must like it. Whatever the case, Dark Souls 2 delivered another great entry into the unwelcoming franchise. To be fair, gamers found Dark Souls 2 to be easier than any of the other of the series, but we think that's simply because you don't have to fight Smaug or Ornstein again. We're thrilled this franchise continues to do well, and we couldn't be more excited about Bloodborne coming out next spring. Number 1. Far Cry 4. More than any other title this year, Far Cry 4 delivered. The graphics are breathtaking, the gameplay is addictive and fun, and the plot is interesting enough to keep you going. Add to this a terrific cooperative mode in which you and a buddy can attack an armed outpost while riding elephants, and you have an excellent title. We found it was actually difficult to make progress in the game as the side quests were so interesting. The drug-addled battles for survival, the assaults on armed caravans, the hunts for honey badgers, and the adventures in the mystical Shangri-La will all pull you away from the main action for hours at a time. If you're looking for a title to devote some hours to this holiday season, we wholeheartedly recommend Far Cry 4.